But more than 25 years ago, the tomb was reburied, sealed, and cemented over. A huge complex of apartments was built on top. Even if the tomb can be located, it may well be impossible to get into it, sitting under meters of concrete and foundation. Poring over architectural plans decades old and cross-referencing the IAA archaeology reports, our team believes they've discovered the underground location of the Talpiot Tomb.
So we know that there's a tomb right over here, right?
Our research shows that in 1980, 2 tombs were discovered on the Talpiot site. The roof of the second tomb had been partially destroyed by construction, but it was sealed up again and not excavated because of time constraints and pressure from religious groups to keep it undisturbed. The archaeological reports showed that this second tomb is 20 meters north of tomb number 1. Crude IAA sketches suggest that both tombs may have had access pipes installed before building continued above them. It's common for pipes like these to be added at the request of rabbis in response to the Orthodox belief that spirits need a clear passage from a tomb. In December of 1990, construction workers uncovered an ancient burial cave from the 1st century. Inside, there were 12 ossuaries. 2 of them bore the name Caiaphas. This one, the most ornate ossuary, has the inscription, "Joseph, son of Caiaphas," carved into it twice.
Entire cluster is dismissed. Well, these are just common Jewish names. I mean, how are you so convinced that this is the Caiaphas?
You find more ossuaries in that same tomb, less fancy, with the name Caiaphas, not Joseph, son of Caiaphas, but with the name Caiaphas on it.
Fancy decoration convinces you that this is the Caiaphas of the...
Caiaphas is not that common name. It is good in dating and timing for that period, and it could be that one. The fact is that we have never found anywhere else an ossuary with the name Joseph, son of Caiaphas, anywhere else.
On the other hand, you have a whole bunch of unique things. Yosa, which you find in this tomb, appears once, period, out of all the thousands of ossuaries that have been found. Yet nobody's...
We don't know for 100%. We never know for 100% in archaeology.
Then, on a 5th ossuary, they uncovered another inscription. The inscription has 2 parts. The second part reads Mara, while the first part is a diminutive of Mariamne. And although no one had ever seen this name on an ossuary, it was translated as just another version of Mary. Mary, also known as Mara. It might make sense if the second Mary, this Mariamne, was Mary Magdalene. Magdala was an important trade center close to the Sea of Galilee. The people from Magdala would have spoken Greek as well as Aramaic. And it's quite likely that Mary Magdalene's family and followers would have written her name in Greek. The Mariamne ossuary is the only one found in the Talpiot Tomb with a Greek inscription.
Let's say in this very tomb of Talpiot, the second Mary was clearly identifiable as Mary Magdalene, let's say.
Right.
What would be your reaction then inside this cluster?
It would be fascinating and certainly draw much more attention and raise many more questions.
But in 1974, in an ancient monastery on Mount Athos in Greece, a Harvard University professor, Francois Bovon, uncovered a 700-year-old manuscript. It was the most complete copy ever found of the 4th century text, the Acts of Philip. In it, Beaumont claims to have discovered an early description of Mary Magdalene, unmarked by later Christian tradition. But what about the spelling of the first name in the inscription, the unique Mariamne, never found before or since on any other ossuary? In the Acts of Philip, Mary Magdalene's name is spelled M-A-R-I-A-M-N-E. Mariamne. However, in the Acts of Philip, written in the 4th century, the oldest known account of Mary Magdalene's travels, she does not die in France.
According to the Acts of Philip, at the end of the story, Mariamne is supposed to go home to Israel, to the Jordan Valley, and the author has an allusion that's where she would die and be buried.
Dies here in Jerusalem. When it comes to forensics, modern science doesn't allow for much speculation. By studying ancient DNA in bone fragments and human residue left behind in ossuaries, scientists can now determine familial relationships between the various people in the Talpiot Tomb. Stephen Phan is the director of the Center for the Study of Early Christianity, and he's assisting Stephen Cox, a forensic archaeologist from New York State. They have discovered valuable material inside the ossuaries in Yoseph.
Inside this ossuary, we've got some material that's adhering to the surface of the stone in a very interesting circular pattern. It's worthy of picking out and taking a look at it and see what its composition is. The pattern and or material could give us a big clue as to who, what, when, and where.
This is it. Look. Just like in the book. Just like in the picture. Look at it. Felix,
The opening of the tomb, 26 years after it was found, coincides with another twist in the story. One of the Talpiot ossuaries has disappeared.
Counting these, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 10 ossuaries here. Each.
But the visits to the Bet Shemesh warehouse have turned up a strange error in the records.
I went to the storerooms of the Israel Antiquities Authority in Bet Shemesh. They provided me with this computer sheet, which indicates that from this tomb there are 9 items. It says here quite clearly, number of items 9, and it has the description of these ossuaries and where they're located in the storerooms.
Somehow, somewhere, one of the Talpiot ossuaries went missing. And it is with this missing ossuary that a new mystery begins. Perhaps the ossuary was stolen. Maybe a worker at the site in 1980 had light fingers. Ossuaries can fetch fairly high prices in the antiquities market. And in October 2002, a chalky limestone ossuary surfaced from a private collection. It bore the inscription. Oded Golan, a well-known collector, stated that he had bought the ossuary from an Arab antiquities dealer in the old city of Jerusalem decades before, but had been unaware of the significance of the inscription.
It was among the first ossuaries that I have in my collection. I didn't put any special attention to this ossuary because the 3 names which are mentioned on the ossuary, which are Yaakov, Yoseph, and Yeshua, are very common name in the 1st century.
And so began what is now a famous controversy, a battle of scholars and science over the authenticity of the James ossuary.
The James ossuary, where did it come from? The collector who owned it, Oded Golan, well publicized, says he got it around 1980. Sometimes he said before or after, but hey, around 1980. Our tomb was discovered in 1980. There's a missing ossuary. The Israeli Antiquities can't find it. Now, maybe they'll find it in the back of a warehouse.
But what would it take to determine whether the James ossuary originated in the Talpiot Tomb? The date and the recorded dimensions are extremely suggestive, but it's the patina that should prove the case one way or another. Over time, in a tomb, minerals and sediment accumulate on ossuaries. This accumulation is called patina, and it can be scientifically analyzed to produce a chemical and mineral fingerprint specific to an ossuary or tomb. Every ossuary discovered in a particular tomb will have the same patina fingerprint. The samples taken from the James ossuary show certain trace materials such as titanium and iron that are unique to the James ossuary. If the James patina matches the ossuaries from the Talpiot Tomb, it will be strong evidence that the James ossuary is the missing bone box. Dr. Charles Pellegrino has come to the Bet Shemesh warehouse in Israel to collect patina samples from the Talpiot Tomb ossuaries.
I can get a lot of the debris from here.
Charlie, that's patina.
That would be good.
Yeah.
Yes, excellent.
At Dr. Pellegrino's request, we commissioned the collection of random patina samples to determine whether the Talpiot Tomb patina is really distinct.
This most patina, that is plenty for Charlie to work in on the electron microscope.
If it were possible to obtain evidence that the James ossuary might be this missing ossuary, then this would have a very strong additional degree of evidentiary value. I would say that that would be an absolute slam dunk if that were in fact shown to be the case.
The Suffolk Crime Lab is a leading American CSI lab involved in solving modern-day crime mysteries. Today, it will use its forensic expertise to determine how the patina from the James ossuary and the patina from the random samples compare to the Talpiot ossuaries.
Did you see that piece?
Yes.
The head sort of like that tunnel running through it?
Yes. Do you want to take another sample out of this container, or is that sufficient?
Yeah, I think that's enough.
All right.
Yeah, I think that'll do. Yeah, meant it just as is. So that piece will be good to look at. Well, right now we're just taking other samples of the accretion from inside the ossuary. Iron is part of the signature that gives the soil that distinctive color. We now have it from this tomb. We have it from the ossuaries from this tomb. We're just taking other samples, and we're going to look at them under the scanning electron microscope and ping them with the electron microprobe.
What we're looking at here now is the spectrum of the patina sample that we just analyzed. This is predominantly a limestone material, correct, Charlie?
Yeah, it's what's called the Jerusalem chalk. It's a very soft limestone.
But what I find interesting is the small trace materials that we are locating here, as opposed to the general limestone properties that you would expect to find. We're noticing iron, titanium, potassium, phosphorus, magnesium. So far, the elemental composition that we analyzed with this particular section of patina is consistent with the trace materials that we found in the James ossuary.
The signature is the same. It matches.
The patina samples from the Talpiot Tomb match with the James ossuary. But what about the random samples? As it turns out, none of them match Talpiot. The same chemical and mineral spikes as that of the Talpiot tomb are exhibited only by the James patina. This is key evidence indicating that the ossuary inscribed James, son of Joseph, brother of Jesus, is the missing ossuary from the Talpiot tomb. When the James ossuary is included in our statistical model, the probability factor changes from 600 to 1 in favor of the tomb to 30,000 to 1.
It's look, 1, 2, 3, these niches, the kochim, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, exactly, 6 all in all. Look, 2 death niches where you lay out the body.
During the rushed excavations in 1980, archaeologists removed from the Talpiot tomb the last ossuary with an inscription. The ossuary belonged to a child. At the IAA Rockefeller Museum, the inscription was translated, Yehuda bar Yeshua.
Yes, Yehuda bar Yeshua